We have Manglam who joins us. Let's go across to Shereen first. Shereen, fill us in. All right. I'm not sure whether our audio is reaching.
Let me just put this into context for you. I don't think we should overreact to this rate of 40% because remember what the government was planning was that the demerit rate would de facto be fixed at 26% and then there would have been a cess on top of that. If you look at the current tax incidence on cigarettes, it is higher in some cases than 40%. What very clearly senior government officials at the senior most level within the finance ministry had told us that the attempt was not to hike the tax incidence but to have a status quo as far as the tax incidence is concerned. So the way that they had structured it, if the GST Council were to approve a cess, was that 26% would be in that sense the demerit rate on things like cigarettes and other luxury items like SUVs and so on and so forth, and then the differential, which is the current tax rate on cigarettes minus the 26%, that would be the cess. So let us not get carried away and assume that this is necessarily negative, because in a sense, as we've been very clearly been told by the finance ministry so far privately, is that they were not contemplating an increase in the tax incidence. What they were saying is that it is likely to be status quo, and they'd specifically given the example of cigarettes where the tax incidence in some cases is close to 40%, if not higher than 40%. So I don't necessarily believe that the market is fully understanding, and I think that stock is recovering now because of what I'm trying to tell you and how I'm trying to explain the structure to you. So the tax incidence, if the cess is approved, is likely to be status quo. So it's unlikely to be a significantly higher burden on cigarettes or luxury items. So again, just for the benefit of our viewers, if there is a cess, then 26% becomes the de facto demerit rate on luxury items, sin goods like cigarettes, aerated drinks and so on and so forth. And whatever is the current incidence, the current tax incidence minus 26% becomes the cess. So the cess will be different across different product categories, but the attempt by the finance ministry, at least in its proposal to the GST Council, which is meeting currently, is that the tax incidence will be status quo. They do not want to significantly burden or add to the burden already on products like cigarettes, etc. So my sense is that the way that this flash line that agencies are reporting has been worded is perhaps something that we need to carefully look through. Also, the finance ministry's recommendation or the centre's recommendation for the GST Council was 6%, 12%, 18% and 26%. What you're now seeing on your screens is different. It's suggesting 5% and then 28%. So there were some states that were demanding that 26% be moved higher. Industry's demand was that move the rate slightly higher but then do away with cess. So is there a rethink as far as cess is concerned? I'm not so sure, so I would hold my horses on that, because again, what very senior finance ministry officials had very clearly told us is that there was convergence from state governments on the imposition of a cess to fund that 50,000 crore rupee compensation to state governments. Remember, the finance ministry's argument is that if we don't impose a cess, then we will have to hike taxes to the tune of 1.72 lakh crores. So in order to cushion the taxpayer and not hike taxes by 1.72 lakh crores, we believe that it is better to actually impose a cess on demerit items and luxury products. That was the argument which in the last meeting, according to the finance minister, there was convergence that most state governments had bought into the idea of a cess. If this rate structure that is now flashing on your screens, this is of course information that agencies are putting out, this is different from the proposal that has gone in from the central government. The central government's proposal is 6, 12, 18, 26 plus a cess. What you're now seeing on your screens is 28 and 5 at the lower end. I'm not sure whether this has in fact been agreed upon. I wouldn't be so sure as to believe that this has been agreed upon. Remember, the meeting started only at about 11 o'clock this morning. It is a two-day meeting. It will conclude tomorrow. So on the agenda is the finalization of cess, and the centre has been pushing for it vociferously, and at least as far as the last meeting was concerned, there was convergence. Industry has been demanding a higher rate, saying that do away with the cess but bring in a higher rate. Is that now a consideration is something that we have to see. But I would just be very careful, you know, and this has not independently been corroborated by CNBC TV18 that the proposal posed by the centre has been changed by the GST Council already, Survi.
All right.